I was watching a really cool video this morning by a guy called Peter McKinnon, who's a really interesting vlogger. And he was talking about the fact that anything can be part of your story. And what he was doing, he was talking about the fact that it wasn't necessarily that interesting. He was sat in his garden having a coffee with his dogs. I don't think the dogs were drinking coffee, but you never know. Actually, I think there was a shot of a dog drinking coffee. There you go. That's an internet thing, isn't it? And he was talking about the fact that, like, your story and what you're telling is the important thing. And you should try and capture everything, really, I think was basically the point. And it made me think about how I haven't done what I feel like I now should have done. Regret is a big word, but there's things about the way my career's gone and how vlogging has fitted into that or not fitted into it that I kind of, like, I wish, I intend to do differently in the future. I've travelled so much because of the gloves, and I would never have had a chance to travel. I'm not in a position or don't have the financial security to just travel for the sake of travel. I really was never going to see the world without going and playing music and doing what I do. When I think about vlogging, like, there's a vlog on my channel about the time that I went to Kawasaki Daishi, which is a Buddhist temple near Kawasaki City, on the trip with Drake Music to Japan last year. And that's sort of typical of how I thought about vlogging in the past. I would only really get the camera out for, like, the quote unquote big stuff, the really, I'm doing something I'll never forget kind of days. But watching the stuff that Peter McKinnon does and the stuff that someone like Casey Neistat is doing, it's not necessarily about that. And it's not necessarily the big events and the, skydiving into a speedboat kind of stuff that really makes a vlog interesting. A fun little memory for me was wandering around Kawasaki City on our first day after doing workshops and stuff, trying to decide where we were going to go to eat. And, like, we were the only Westerners around, and just how different and interesting and exciting that was, especially for me. I'm a Westerner, but I love Japan and Japanese culture, but there was still a lot of stuff that I was learning about Japan that evening. Like, a lot of places where you go to eat, for example, you wouldn't be served by waiting staff. There would be like a computer terminal, and you would look at the picture of what you want, the ramen and the sashimi, and you would choose that and pay on the machine, and then somebody would bring you the food. And if the pictures weren't there or good enough, there might be some plastic dishes in the window of the restaurant. Really quite accurate representations of the food. But like little plastic models of, some sushi and like nigiri and noodles and stuff. And that's how you would choose. And the plastic toy food would have its like number, and you'd go and order that from the machine. And it's just a totally different way of eating out if you think about what it's like here near Birmingham in the UK. Now, that's the kind of thing where I would think, I'm not going to like film this and we're just having dinner. But actually, when I look back, I think, no, that was a really interesting and educational experience. And I wish I'd documented it. And there's been a lot of those kinds of things, just exploring cities. When we went to did the Kennedy Center trip, we had quite a bit of free time for an overseas trip. The nature of my work means I don't normally get loads of free time. When I went to Sweden to perform, I think I was there for about 20 hours. Like, I didn't see anything really. That's not true. You see culture, you see people, but yeah, you can't be a tourist. But we had a bit of actual tourist time in Washington, D.C., for example. And yeah, those things aren't necessarily when in the past I felt like vlogging. There's a couple of barriers to that. One of them is that this is a topic for another time, but I describe myself as a secular Buddhist. So, for example, I'm really interested in mindfulness and meditation and being really present in the moment. And I'm still trying to make peace with the idea that vlogging doesn't get in the way of that, and that filming something isn't like taking yourself out of the moment. I think sometimes it feels like it does. So, yeah, starting to see that there's a way around that, and there's a change of mindset that you can be present and capturing stuff. But also some of it is just kind of nerves of, there's the nervous thing of being seen by members of the public filming. which actually, when you think about it, really doesn't matter. Like when you travel a lot and you see a lot of airports, like everyone's a YouTuber, everyone's a vlogger these days, aren't they? Like there's so much of that going on. I think it's a really normalized thing. Like dudes like me in beanie hats talking into DSLRs in airports is not that big a deal anymore, is it? Some of the reason why I don't do enough of it is like a sort of second guessing of like, oh, does anyone want to watch this? And I realize now that that really doesn't matter. It's about me having a record of these things in a really interesting way. Memories are important and I treasure those, but it would just be cool to have a bit more stuff to show for these things. And also there's the third reason, which is the thing about just feeling insecure about filming and being in front of the camera. Like I said in my last episode, it's kind of par for the course. I have to do things. I'm talking to somebody about a TV thing at the moment. And like to do a TV appearance, well, it's part of what I do as a musician and promoting my music and what I do, especially with my live show. And you need to see it. And like, now is not a good time to get hang-ups about being in front of cameras. So that's why I'm doing more of these sort of things. But it's also a reason why I didn't do enough of it when I was on the road. Yeah, so those are some of the things I want to sort of fix and basically just document more stuff because it's all interesting. That's the thing from, one of the Peter McKinnon blogs that he was talking about. Like, it's all interesting. I watched a video this morning of him and Casey Neistat going for a run in Amsterdam. Two dudes running around Amsterdam. It's not like they're, racing Lamborghinis or something. They're just running around. But actually the nature of the conversation and what they were doing, like it's all interesting. And it doesn't even matter really whether I find it interesting. It's whether it has value to you as the person making the content. And I think that's the incentive to make content. It's not to like get subscribers and to get likes and be a YouTuber. It's to like have something tangible, something that you can share because it's interesting, I think. Certainly that's more interesting than, it's not a stats thing, right? I don't think you should make stuff and put it on the internet for the stats, for the likes, whatever. Lots of people do. That's fine. Personally, I don't feel good about that. But that's probably another thing that makes me feel like I don't want to do this type of stuff because I want to do it for the right reasons. But for me, I'm not saying your reasons are wrong, but they're not. Yeah, you know what I'm trying to say. Just capture stuff. It's cool. Right, yeah. So what else am I doing? Today I'm going to go to the studio. I'm just waiting for a parcel and then I'm going to go. I'm going to finish Stay Frosty. It sounds really good. I'm so happy with the mix that I've got now. The version that I put out a few weeks ago is just not right. I'm going to leave it there as a kind of example of the progress a song can take because I'm changing it quite dramatically. That's not what I came onto this video to talk about, but yeah, that's what I'm doing next. And then I guess I'll have that ready for you to listen to quite soon, I hope. But yeah, I just wanted to share this idea for future me. Watch this and think, capture stuff. Don't be insecure about like whether you want to be filmed because it's fine. You'll feel okay about it. Don't worry about people seeing you filming because it's completely normalized and it just doesn't matter anyway. There was a third thing. Be present while you are documenting these things. And don't get too sucked into it being too perfect with the technology. Be good enough. It's just got to be good enough. And that's it. Cool. That's my advice for anyone who watches this, including me soon. Yes.